lost my mic. OBS lost my mic. So there we go. Usually it's fine. You just plug it in, and it remembers what's going on. But this week, no, it's decided that it decided that silence was golden on my part. So there we go. Yeah. So there we go. Right, sorry, brethren, sistren, those of you who don't like to be pigeonholed, all of you freaks, geeks, and the rest of it. Yeah. So that's it. We're here, and it's time. It's time for the disclaimer. Oh yeah, we're going to do it because we have to do it. It's part of the whole thing. Let's do it fast. Oh, actually, I'm just going to read the first word on the beginning of every line. That'll do. Hi, TF2 Real Gamer 2022. Hi. All spiritual enlightenment offered backflips attempt other entirely eschaton associated probably days. There we go. That's good. You can read the rest of it. It's fine. Can't now because just put it on the order of service. Same as every week. I'm going to put up a slide that says Deep Thoughts, then one that says Kanda, then one that says Faces of Eris. Then we're actually going to do a reflective tower. We'll end with the weekly sacrament. It's the usual order of things. Oh yeah, and 23 is coming. I said that 23 was coming before I knew that OBS had lost my microphone. Oh, OBS, you so wacky. I'm just going. It's not yet another thing to do on the checklist of things to do when I'm going live. Oh, this week and from here on out, we're coming to you without commercial interruption on Twitch. Holla, because I sent them a thing. I said I don't want to be an affiliate, and they went, all right, then we'll remove you from the affiliate program. And I went, do it, and they went, we will. And I said, that's fine. And they said, okay then. And I said, we'll get on with it then. And then they did it. So yeah, you won't be interrupted by ads now. You also can't redeem channel points, but that's no different to any other week because I wasn't doing channel points. I mean, I was doing channel points, but I wasn't really doing them. They would have just interrupted the flow of things. I'm not your usual streamer. So yes, it's much better not to have commercials and not to be an affiliate than it would be to be an affiliate and have commercials. That you now have a limited amount of control. You can, and I kept forgetting. I think if I post random while the starting boards are up, then we wouldn't get interrupted during the actual service. But much better to do this because I never wanted money out of Twitch. I don't earn any money out of Twitch anyway. And adverts are just mean. So now it's just me. Just me, no commercials. The true embodiment of small streamering. So there we go. That's that. We'll move to the... there we go. May as well do that because we're going to Deep Thoughts. And inspired by last week's revelation that the only consistent member of the congregation here right now, live and direct, TF2 Real Game 2022, just enjoys the wackiness and doesn't really... I'm not going to go, by the way, in depth. There are Deep Thoughts sections back in time on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, which will explain, I think, some bits of Discordianism. But I just thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to sort of take a little review, you know. We're about 4 weeks away from the end of the season of chaos. So I mean the things are right. So the thing is, right, I haven't been exactly shy about, good grief, what is under all this stuff. There we go. This is our holy book, the Principia Discordia. It's a self-published thing because you can just download the Principia as a PDF on the lines, as it were, and then publish your own version if you want. So that isn't the... I mean, the point is, it's very difficult to say what the original... You read it. You read that. You read all of it. The whole book. I'm sorry. I mean, did you not read the bit where it said you're not allowed to believe anything that's in there? That it's kind of a clue that reading the whole thing is not entirely necessary and may not bring you any closer to enlightenment. There are bits of it that are sort of true-ish, you know, some of it. but some of it is not at all true. Some of it is actively deceptive. As we discussed, there was a deep thoughts I did about the section about Sri Siddhasti. That got me for many years, that did. But yeah, so yeah, it is weird. I think, like so many things in Discordianism, the book sucked anyway. Yeah, right. I was literally about to say that in a sort of more long-winded way. The book, like so many things, the thing about it is that doing these services has been like, I rip off the structure and subvert the structure of a traditional religious ceremony. And one of the weird side effects of that is that it makes you understand why regular religions do it, and it kind of makes you think, oh, I'm glad I'm not in that game perpetrating that agenda. Like the whole thing about how essentially the way that regular clergy in regular religions come off, when they're doing a service, is that they're saying all this stuff, and some of it you might find upsetting or controversial, but the mantle of priesthood, the mantle of the Hierophant, prevents you from talking back. So you go to church ostensibly to enhance a communion with some kind of godlike entity, and when you come out, you find that you have been actively and thoroughly discouraged from opening your mouth and having a voice, because that is how most religions like it. You are not allowed to speak out against God or God's purported representatives, which is why I said in this one, in this particular context right here, you can say what you like in the chat, and I'm looking at the chat and I will respond to it, because that's the point. I realised that was the point. The point is not for me to sit here and just wax lyrical. You don't believe me? Good. See, you're learning. You've learnt. Strangely, for someone who said they weren't a Discordian last week, that you're very Discordian in your approach to things. That's excellent. That's how it should be. And so you learn all sorts of things. So the book, and I don't know how deliberate this is, but the Principia is full of lies, half-truths, active deceptions, weird stuff that doesn't mean anything, precisely because what it's saying is, well, this is a holy book, isn't it? This is what a holy book is. It doesn't just apply to the Principia. It applies to all holy works. They're full of meaningless sections that actively try to deceive you, sections that are just wrong by accident, and some things that are fine. It's a hodge and a podge. Yeah? And that's it. By accident or by design, it is a subversion of the notion of a holy book. I do not think that readers of certain holy text would take all too kindly to the idea that someone would be just like saying, well, no, some of it's fine, but some of it's wrong. Some of it's lies that are malicious, or at least actively intending to deceive. Some of it are lies because people didn't know anything different and it's just wrong. You know, that's what a holy text is. That's what all holy texts are. That's how they work. That's how they do. And if we can accept that, then we're all good, and you can be whatever. No. Can you? You mean you can't accept it? Well, so if you have to accept everything, that's what chaos is, then that's what the universe is. Everything is chaos. Some things more evidently chaotic than others. On which more in a bit, I think. I don't think I know, because I know what's on the other slides in this presentation. But yeah, and that's the thing. I think what's really interesting about it is actors in all of this is real. Ben is a real life character, and so is everyone in the PDF file. Act extremely sad because you just learned Ben passed away. Ben was your hero, your idol, your only friend and supporter. Act extremely sad and hopeless that he passed away. You're looking in the PDF file because you're looking at the memories you had with Ben. Focus on I Show Speed because that was Ben's best friend. Is that a piece of copy pasta? Is that doing the round? And who is Ben? I vaguely know who I Show Speed is. He's some kind of YouTuber. But, you know, it's not part of the internet drama that I have followed. I like my pasta. I think that's true for us. I had lasagna for dinner tonight. It was the wife's Valentine's Day treat. And it was delicious. And we have leftovers. Oh, yeah, everything's coming up Millhouse. So, yeah, I do indeed like my pasta. I had nothing. I don't have anything. That's sad. That's sad. You see, I am touched by that notion of not having anything for tea. When I have nothing for tea, I like noodles. There used to be 15p noodles. 15 pence in the UK currency. Not very much, anyway. You could have some noodles. But that's gone. Those days have gone. And they're at very least 40 or 50p now. When the cheapest food item you can buy, it doesn't even really feed you, is like 50p. That's £0.50. It's like people don't understand the notion. It's like the market doesn't understand the notion of poor anymore. I mean, you have to be quite rich to be able to afford 50p for shit. So there we go. That's the world. That's how it is. You can find the cheapest item here in the trash. Oh, yeah. If you're one of those people who do that, like... I love that, the whole contradiction of that notion. That people are discouraged from dumpster diving. And the companies that, like, you know, have security guards guarding their garbage to stop people getting it are like, it's a health and safety concern. Like that. It's like, it's fucking not. It's not a health and safety concern. It's a, if you're not paying us to eat it, you ain't going to eat it concern. But of course, the optics on that, terrible. That's why it's pretty non-preventable. It's the theatre of creating reality the way it is. You know? There are people inside that system who don't really care if people dumpster dive thrown away food, but they have to pretend to care because it's their job to pretend to care, and as much as possible they'll look the other way, but then if like a documentary crew come round, it's like, oh no, we have security guards, it's a health and safety concern. We don't mind that they would eat, you know, the bread rolls from our bakery that we cooked today but didn't sell, so we threw them in the trash. We wouldn't mind that. But once we throw them in the trash, they're trash. And you can't, you know, what happens if they get ill? It's like, well, what does happen if they get ill? What happens if they starve to death? Do you know what I mean? But, yeah, it's performative. It's a performative theatre. But sometimes people take it seriously. Sometimes people are, that's how people are. Yeah, that's their problem. Not mine. Exactly. It's a performative theatre. And that's what's interesting. When you get someone who really is like, no, I must not let these starving people eat the food I have thrown away for health and safety reasons. And you get the inkling they actually kind of believe that somewhere. They have incorporated the performance into their identity. But then that's all identity is a number of performative acts that you have chosen to take onto yourself that you believe are core to your, you know, identity. That's what it is. So as much as, you know, you might think of them as a job's worth, was it the problem with Robert Anton Wilson for me is, one, he's like a single point of failure. It's interesting actually that there are equivalents, like in the Bible, you have the book of epistles, which is letters. It's a fancy way of saying letters that St. Paul wrote to some people. Who is Robert Al something? We'll say Robert Anton Wilson, R.A.W., Old Bob. There's a sermon about that. A sermon? Yeah, they are sermons. Deep Thoughts is the sermon. There's a Deep Thought section explaining all of that. But briefly, he is not one of the original Discordians, like by the paper, but he was so into the idea that he kind of became the Discordian prophet. Just one. I mean, there were lots of other Discordian. I mean, everyone's a prophet, everyone's a pope. But he was an actual writer. I knew that. Oh, are you getting me to explain it for the folks at home? Is that what you're doing? Which is viable. I saw him today at the mall. How did he look? Probably not so great, seeing as he's been dead since, I think, at the most 2009. We're gonna have to fact check that one. Not you. I know you're lying, but what I'm saying is, yeah, all right, okay, we'll come out of the thing. Robert Anton Wilson. 2007. I was 2 years out. There you go. So yeah, and there's pictures of old Bob. There we go. Marvelous. So there we are. See also Stephen King. What? I mean, Stephen King's cool as well, but it's not the same thing. Where is your proof? My proof is Google and Wikipedia. Yeah, he was also your grandpa. He was everyone's grandpa. He was your disreputable Discordian grandpa. And mine too. So there we go. That's where we're at. So yeah, the problem is, yeah, I don't like the yeah. So anyway, in the Bible, epistles is a bunch of stuff that Paul wrote in letters to the Romans, yeah, and in fact, I think Romans and stuff. Saint Paul wrote a lot of stuff, and it went into the Bible. And so you can think of works by Robert Anton Wilson as being like the Discordian equivalent of epistles. Except he wasn't writing the letters to some Romans. I don't know why I'm doing that. I mean, he was literally writing to people who were Roman. Yeah. From the Italian peninsula, conquered the world, all of that. Big in the time of Jebus. Yeah. But Robert Anton Wilson used to write books. And he wrote, I mean, that's one of the weird things, is that he wrote the Illuminatus trilogy. That's not in the spirit of the Bible. It's kind of a Discordian work of fiction of a type that does exist in... you was in love with him. We were all in love with him. I'm still in love with him. Sorry, I'm not trying to take anything away from you, except I am. Because we need to dilute it as far as possible. Because as I was saying, until Robert Anton Wilson, I wasn't particularly troubled any more than usual by the idea that this Paul guy wrote a lot of what has become... Right, a lot of what Paul has written has become like Christian dogma. Now, we're slightly insulated as Discordians because we don't have dogma, we have katma. Yeah? Which is a completely different thing. But yes, still the idea. I mean, until it was my religion, and we had Robert Anton Wilson. He's like a single point of failure. That wasn't particularly wise. Now, was it? Wise? What wasn't wise? Drinking? It's water. It's always water. You've asked me that before. Still water. While I'm being a pope, water is the beverage of choice. But yeah, single point of failure for philosophical, if you're saying as a Discordian, how do you feel about X? Holy water, of course it's holy water. It's been blessed and consumed by the Pope. But then the fact is that Christian philosophers, theosophers, whatever, they do not mind the fact that a lot of what they're reading is from, so you believe in Jesus? As a concept, yes, I do believe in Jesus as a concept. But I believe in Santa Claus as a concept more. I've got a much more rounded idea of Santa Claus as a concept than I do of Jesus as a concept. So you can, in the world of relativity, you can take that as you may. To me, Santa Claus is more real than Jesus. I do, definitely. I believe in Sherlock Holmes more than I believe in Jesus. Sherlock Holmes is very well established. Santa Claus is very well established. I would say that Jesus and Krampus are about level pegging. There's a problem with Jesus is that Santa Claus isn't often used as a receptacle. Like, everyone can kind of agree the kinds of things Santa would do and the kind of things Santa would like. So, believe in sea and python. It's weird. They are real. Belief is not necessary. Any particular flavour of C, or do you mean C? But not JavaScript. I don't believe in JavaScript. Well, no, because JavaScript is just a subvariety of ECMAScript. So it is just syntactic sugar, mostly. And that's the same for like Node and, you know, all those other subvarieties of, indeed, JavaScript. They're all ECMAScript, really. PoopScript. Is there one called PoopScript? Because I feel like that's a thing. I feel like Arnold. That's a particularly good language. A particularly good language. Someone as a project made a programming language that is entirely made up of lines of dialogue uttered by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is a really good language. We were at 23 seconds from 23. 23ception, as it were. And of course, when 23 comes, we all got to pay attention. And that's exactly what we're going to do. In about 10 seconds, we're going to do that thing. Because we have to. Because it's 23. When 23 comes into the room, everyone pays attention. Here it is. Yep, we're in 23 time. Oh yeah, 23 time. What are we saying with 23? Well, what do we need? 23 is all encompassing. 23 surrounds and enfolds. When you're in 23, 23 is all there is. 23 is a circle whose edge is nowhere and whose centre is everywhere. That is 23, and that's where you are right at this moment. Behold. Behold 23. Behold the works of 23 and tremble. 23. 23 is the question to the universe and everything above, and the answer. 23 is all. 23 is none. 23 is every degree in between. But then the moment comes, and the moment goes, and we're not in 23 anymore. There you go. That was 23 this week. How was it for you? It was good for me. So we've discussed the relative positions. Oh yeah, I was talking about the holy books. Yeah, so basically, to wrap it all up, every step of my Discordian journey that I've taken, where I have adopted another practice that I have observed in another religion and then made it Discordian and done it in a Discordian way, has revealed to me the wiring under the board of why these things are done. And why did we even go there in the first place? Robert Anton Wilson talks about the 8th Circuit model of consciousness, which is actually an idea of Timothy Leary, who was way too stoned on various substances to ever be a Discordian, because he couldn't even hold the concept in his head for long enough because he was so drug-addled. But Robert Ant Wilson, he liked Discordianism, liked Leary's 8th Circuit model of consciousness. And as a writer, continually on the prowl for something to write about, he wrote about in a book called Prometheus Rising. And one of the circuits of consciousness, this is the thing, I don't even like the term circuits of consciousness. Circuits of consciousness. What does that even mean? A circuit of consciousness. It's because computers were very sci-fi when Leary was positing this stuff. It was before William Gibson. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah? Get to the point. But the point is, one of those circuits is the religious circuit. And the belief was put forward not by Leary, but by Robert Anton Wilson, that Discordianism acted as an excellent inoculation against you really putting something damaging into that religious circuit. Because Discordianism's pretty inoffensive. It helps you think more freely instead of locking down your thought. That's his position. It's all really hard to prove because none of it is scientific, but it seems to check out. And what's really interesting is that if you therefore use things that are supposed to lock the circuit down, it kind of works with Discordianism, but it also says, oh yeah, if I was not involved in a religion that was a joke and a joke that it was a religion, in a sort of state of not believing anything, but also adopting things and doing them as rote practice, if I wasn't in the mental position that Discordianism puts me in, this could really screw my worldview up, what I'm doing. And that's... look at this funny image, though. Image.png. I can only look at... What would be really cool is if that was a picture of purple text saying image.ping. In which case I will look. I don't know why it's funny, but it is funny. It's funny in the sense it's peculiar. So yeah. I think that signals the end of Deep Thoughts for the week. Although that does mean that we are on to Kanda. So now is the time. I'm not seeing any question points. Since that wasn't particularly wise now, was it? Was said a while back. So this is it. If a question is posed at this point while this slide is on screen, I cannot but attempt to give you an answer. It will not possibly be a right answer. Might not be even in the same area of knowledge that the question was posed in. It could be an answer that's completely out of context, but it will be an answer. As was said in The Prisoner, I love the fact that there's a television show, the UK tea time television show aimed at children from the 60s, in which there is a quote that says, "Questions are an imposition on others and answers are a prison for oneself." It's like shooting real high there for the children audience. Did you know we are the first class in Norway that's going to have a course for people who work with Unreal Engine, like the big boys? I did not know that, but that's cool. Education. We had. I did a media course when I was. I'm not going to say your age because I don't know what your age is. But when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I did a media course, and it was the only media course in Wales that had for their sort of film and visuals course lead a guy who'd worked in like Iranian, I think it was, television. Yeah, I think it was Iranian television, all over the shop in Iranian television. And as such, the equipment that was bought, so if we fuck this up, they won't do it again. Well, that's ridiculous. You can't have one failure and go, no, scrap that. Could just have been a coincidence. You might have been exceptionally shit. I'm not going to tell my AV story now. It's just that we had this really weird equipment setup that as I went around to other places where they did media and saw their setups, I was like, it's not as good as our setup. But that's because the guy in charge of our course was used to getting a very high quality setup, but sort of putting it together in a sort of unusual, unorthodox way that isn't maybe the manufacturer's recommendation. Because that's where he'd worked. That was great. The school has spent about 50,000 British pounds just for this. Well, if they're going to spend 50,000, they may as well spend 150,000 to get a representative sample. Because if you fuck it up, but the next two sets of cohorts do really well, it's plain that you were just fuck-ups. Yeah? And if you do really well... I mean, this is the thing. If you do really well, then they're going to be like, oh, well, that was £50,000 well spent. Let's spend it again! And then the next cohort could be rubbish. And then they'll be on the horns of a dilemma. It has to be best 2 out of 3. That it has to be. If you can't do best 2 out of 3, then don't even bother with the endeavour. That is our Kandar learning for this week. Oh yeah, Faces of Eris, which I've left to the default text of Fnord. I don't mind. That's how it is. So who is Eris this week? Oh, what did I see? I saw a YouTube video a YouTube video explaining 3D animation concepts. And one of the examples they used was the Heavy from Team Fortress 2. Because when they modelled them at first, they do them in a T-pose because of armpits. But the Heavy is an exception to this rule because he often carries a large gun. And so he is modelled initially in an A pose. Because it's more important that he has a good A pose. Because people carrying heavy weapons in 3D models. So there we go. It's not the Heavy. The Face of Eris this week is not the Heavy. In fact, it's time for you to boo doubly much. 2 times boo. Because this week, the Face of Eris is Murica! You can also make him A pose in game. Well, yeah, that's sort of a reference to the fact that whereas it's usual to make characters initially in a T pose, for certain characters, including the Heavy, A pose is the way to start because he doesn't do the things that with his arms that might make it look weird if he doesn't. So there we go. Gulf of poop and more poop. I like it. Why Murica? Why is Murica the Face of Eris this week? Because we're seeing a grey face war in action. And the best thing about this is it's macro. Because the curse of Greyface and the way that Greyface is often portrayed in non-Discordian literature, yeah, is that there's one Greyface and he's trying to control everything. You know, your James Bond villain trying to take over the world. But the fantastic thing about the current situation in America is that several high-powered individuals with the curse of Greyface. Did you see that Elon Musk? Yes, I did. In fact, yes, a lot is being made of that. But it doesn't really matter because the fact is that these people are infected with the Greyface curse. And when you can see it so publicly like that, I don't think that the original Discordians, they could conceive of a media situation arising. The information age was a mystery to people until it arrived. And when it arrived, it just essentially sat on everyone's faces and has been doing so for the whole time. That is how we've all got the media's arse firmly planted in our face now. And it's in a situation which they could never have envisioned. But the idea of all these people, at least 5 or 6 people, all with the Greyface curse, all trying to dominate each other when everyone knows, well, every Discordian knows, chaos is all there is. So, and the fact is that it is true that 5 or 6 big players all trying to jockey for control and position using a variety of hilarious robotic tactics which are very obvious because of the amount of information that they flood into the general information slot pile is chaos. You can just watch the chaos emerging, dancing around in front of all of them, and they are blind. They are blind that they are not only not achieving their ends, but all they're doing is producing huge, glorious amounts of chaos. And that's what you get when you have a Greyface war. And honestly, whenever a Greyface curse individual steps into the limelight, a Greyface war ensues. And hence does chaos. Thus proving the maxim, seek order to produce chaos. And ironically, it does work the other way round. If you seek chaos, you end up ordering things just in order to let the chaos flow. So why don't they just fix this? Or this got to be just one line of code. All right. I don't really. I mean, I don't know. I'm enjoying America. Look what we done and voted in as president. Season 2, much better than season 1. Season 1 had a great finale. There was like insurrection and men with buffalo heads screaming about racial prejudice, dancing around in America's purported seat of power. It was good, but then it was over because it was already over at that point. The finale was fine, but it quickly settled into 4 years of not very much happening really that is of any surprise or whatever, just going with the flow, letting America run itself as it was. But now we're 3.5 weeks into the second season, if that 4 weeks, I don't know however many weeks we're into it, and just every day there's more ludicrous crap flowing out of the whole situation, and it's just a joy to behold. In tarot terms, we are watching the tower. We are still here. So yeah. Oh, the bot still talks, so that's fine. Yes, we are still here in order to watch all of this stuff happen. It's the problem with it is that chaos is unpredictable. So I don't know what is going to be the ultimate fallout of this. But if you'd have gone to me, January 4th and said, what kind of things are we going to see by March? The idea of like the president trying to rob Greenland, saber rattling for real with Canada. There's what was considered at the time a very unfunny and ridiculous comedy from the early 90s called Canadian Bacon that I watched the other week. And what's hilarious is it's much funnier now than it was at the time, because at the time there was absolutely no chance. There was it was supposed to be an utterly ludicrous premise that the USA would ever turn to Canada and say maybe they could be an enemy. And here we are living it, and it just it lifts the film. It lifts the film to be living in this timeline where this ridiculous joke that was made, is now the real thing. So yeah, it's not most reassuring, but it is entertaining. Are you not entertained? Was it the Fanta-fascist, as he's known here? He could do a lot by asking if we're not entertained. But the thing is, it is also kind of important he doesn't know that he's just a player in a show. No, don't feel satisfied. We haven't got anywhere yet. It's only just begun. The circus of delusion has only just begun. How far can delusion take us? We're in Deluluville, enjoying all the little Delulu Oompa Loompas doing their thing. Everything is fake and God is not real. That's delusion. Excellent. Print it on a t-shirt. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. So yeah, the circus of delusion is in full swing. The whole thing where the whole sorry mess commenced with that episode where they attempted to ban that one social media platform. And what I think was a side effect of that whole part of the show, if everything is allowed, then why are we still mad at people? It's because the phrase doesn't mean what people think it means on the face value. Everything permitted does not mean that, as Crowley, the odious fox, would have it, that you do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. That's not the intention of that statement. What it says is, don't be surprised by anything. Never find yourself in a position where you go, I just can't believe that that is the case. Because everything is permitted. So when a thing happens, it is permitted. Yeah, you shouldn't be surprised or taken back, or, you know, you should just be like, oh yeah, well, that was going to happen, because everything is permitted. And nothing is true. It just means that seeking the ultimate truth is pointless. Nothing is ultimately true. When I saw my bank account today, I said just that. Yeah, that's, well, unfortunately, TF2 Real Gamer 2022. Having no money in your bank account is definitely permitted. It is part of the category of everything that is permitted. So yeah, I suppose we should move on with this, really. And we see, yes, this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a bunch of people on YouTube having really serious expressions about someone just taking all the rules of society, and just like going, yeah, these aren't for me, in front of everyone. You know, we're seeing the whole thing. You know, people speculate, you know, you're having dinner and some guy just walks in and then poops on the table and expects everyone to be okay with it. You know, and everyone's, oh, how would we react? Well, we're finding that out right now. An entire country with turds on the table. Trump turds on the table. And we're finding out how they're reacting. And so far, it's just a lot of, well, did you ever? Can you believe it? I'm outraged. I'm outraged too. That's all it is. People go, well, he's really done it now. He's not allowed to do that. He's really done it. Done what? So far, it's consequence-free. Things have happened, and the only consequence has been a lot of people belly aching about it on YouTube. If that's the worst that could happen in the face of, you know, definite treason, and the stock market. But the stock market's a fucking illusion as well. It's a board game, the stock market. That's all it is. In Russia, it went up and the Nasdaq went down. Well, that's exactly the point. I mean, the point is that if the point is that somebody somewhere has realised that the real consequence of such soft treason, yeah, is everybody be standing around arguing about whether it was really treason. You know, in the past we'd have had a better, clearer view on this. But right now, at this time in history, you go, well, it is true that there was a phone call in which the elected mouthpiece of America who doesn't even own Ukraine, just gave Ukraine away, gave a free pass. It was like, oh yeah, you're completely in the right, yeah, and actions that have taken place in Murica have resulted in the impoverishment of Murica and the growth of wealth in its key enemy. And yet those parties responsible for those acts, do you think the election was rigged? Be honest. All elections are rigged. Every election is rigged. The point is that all of these soft experiments, Brexit, it wasn't an election, but it was a vote. And it was established before all of the consequences of it had finished going through, that it was rigged. Like someone rigged that election. Someone rigged that vote. Very publicly, at the time it was evident that it had been, but they learnt the things to say to, like, go, well, hang on, was it really though? Was it really rigged? Was it? Was it rigged? Was it rigged? A vote and an election is the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Was it rigged? And people were so concerned with that question, was it rigged? Was it? That they failed to account for the fact that, yes, it was proved beyond a doubt that it was rigged. And by the time that had been proven, everyone's like, it's too late now. Can't be bothered. They exhausted the outrage. So that's all that's happening here. That was like the mini version of what's happening now. Is that they know, yeah, that they can do all this stuff in front of everybody. And that people will be like, but that's not allowed. And then they will spend time, these rational, good faith actors, proving that it's not allowed. But by the time they've got there, the general appetite in the zeitgeist for retribution for these crimes should be exhausted. And all that's changed is a matter of scale. This one's a lot bigger. You know, Britain isn't really all that important. So yeah, what it is that whole thing of the whole world is the victim of abuse and gaslighting. It'll be different this time. He said he'd change. That's all it is. They're just continually pushing the boundary of what people will expect. Hello, we have a new Lara Vaggio. Hey, I do custom artwork for streamers. Would you like to see it? No, okay, let me explain something to you, Lara. I just stopped being an affiliate because I didn't want people watching my stream to be subject to adverts. Because really, the YouTube channel will get a better experience because they got the whole thing with no adverts in it. And that doesn't sound like... He is also a scammer. Ban him. I think they'll go away now once they've realised that they're onto nothing. Are hiding to nothing. Trying to sell me something when I'm literally backpedaling in the exact opposite direction to that thing. If you want to come and see the service, come and see the service. I'm not promoting the service. I ain't got time for that. I got 1-2 messages like that every week. Yeah, I've had them before as well. I have had people come in and play the same thing, you know, before. I have a ban hammer. If it gets spammy, we'll go that way, but the fact is, my direction of travel is exactly the opposite of someone who would even be vaguely interested in that scam if they were stupid enough to do so. Like, get a job. Yeah, get a job. You know, it has been revealed that scamming is a job, and it's particularly poorly played. And in fact, the scammers that you see at the front line are often exploited by other people. They are gaslit. Just it's interesting that so much by just as I'm talking about everybody in the world is gaslit. Do you also know that I'm going to earn more than my teacher once I'm done with school? I'm there. This is what happens. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of chatter going on at the moment about, is it tech? Is tech a good thing to learn? But funnily enough, when I was studying tech, round about the millennium, there was exactly the same. Is it sustainable? Is it tech? Like, the world is the tech market. Everything the Western world does, you know, we've only grown more and more dependent on the digital team. And everything that we do, every sort of apparent forward step in progress that we make with this, just makes more and more people dependent on more and more tech. AI just being the latest in that run, you know. AI set up a server? No, it can't. Only me. Exactly. AI can't do shit. It does sometimes what it's really good at, condensing Stack Overflow answers to actually give you a code sample for your specific case. As long as you explain to the AI's natural language processing what it is you want the piece of code that you want to actually do, then that's better than combing through 9 Stack Overflow answers to cobble it together from bits of other people's slightly similar scenarios. But really, I mean, I think they spend a lot of money in it for something that just is basically like Programmer's Digest, but whatever. So there we go. And finally, the Great Unmasking. Yes, and that's what I said. You know, like, if you wanted to see the unmasking of what is really going on. It's here. It's out there. Reality wars become really lazy. People who wrote thrillers in the past about, cover-ups and conspiracies. The US shows its true self. It does. And that's the point, is that they do, like, even the bits where they're trying to reality reverse gaslight you are really lazy. Like, people who've written conspiracy thrillers for the last half a century are like, what the hell, man? If I wrote this in a book, nobody'd buy it. Nobody'd buy that this ridiculous. Somebody just goes on Fox News and they're like, well, what about all this illegal treasonous shit that's been happening? It didn't happen. The president is great. I'm not even that far from how it really goes down. And the memes pumped into the social media channels. There was a lyric from the late 90s, all means to attract and distract. They were talking about advertising at the time, but that's all communication is now. Means to attract and distract. Tarot time. Tarot time. There we go, yes. So what's really interesting about that is that America is under the influence of people suffering with the grey face curse. But it has just turned America into this boiling, melting, roiling cauldron of chaos. So much so that you can see. I want to make a meme coin to earn some money. Sounds very tedious and like a lot of effort. And what do you get at the end of it? Enough money to buy a sports car. I don't even need a sports car. Don't even want a sports car. I mean, I am not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. It boggles my mind that I have nearly everything I really need. Nearly. How does that work out? There are people with obscenely more money. Pick 32. No cheating this time. Right. Every week, before the broadcast begins, I take the deck, I shuffle it 5 times with a Las Vegas style shuffle, and then I cut the deck. Yeah, I don't know what number card it is that was in after the 5 shuffle, but I've raised one to the top. So the card on the top is whichever card Eris wants us to see. 32, 323, 32, 432. 322. Okay, so I don't know what this card is. You don't know what it is. But we're going to find out together. And that's how the reflective tarot works. It is this. What's that? Oh. The Knight of Swords. Your internet died. Wait. It's fine. You're fine. You're good. The internet around here has been really sketchy today, in actual fact. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I've taken a dip. Oh, I'm back. It didn't actually stop the broadcast, but it did stutter it. Should be catching up any minute. We're back. We're back. Yeah, we're definitely back now. But the delay is what it is. Why am I putting this on the bottom? We haven't finished with it yet. So yeah, Knight of Swords. We're back. Sorry about the stutter, everyone. Sorry. The broadcast never stopped. My preview kept going all the way through that, but the internet just dropped in my area for a few seconds. We're back now. So anyway, yeah, Knight of Swords. That's where we're at. Tarot for this week. So the Knight is an interesting energy. It's about doing stuff, but not expecting any consequences from it. Which, there are things you can do that, there are no real consequences from. Boiling some 15p noodles, for example. Not even nutrition is a consequence of that action. Nobody minds. It's all fine. So that's the Knight's energy. I act, but I don't expect anything to come of the actions that I do. And Swords, as we know, is the suit of bullshit. So what it says is, running around saying a bunch of saying a bunch of stuff, bullshit. Yeah, pushing people's buttons, but not expecting any comeback from it. That's your Knight of Swords. Interesting. I mean, the best way to be safe in that energy is for your bullshit. It has to be actual bullshit. Yeah, it has to be. It can't just be non-controversial stuff. It has to be swords-worthy content. Yeah, but at the same time, you have to pick an arena where, even though you've pushed a lot of people's buttons, there are no real consequences to that. And as we know, in the days of cancel culture, as they call it, you say the wrong thing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and there are consequences. That woman, the woman who tweeted the racist thing and got cancelled while she was on a flight, she, left the ground working for a company and on a way to be an envoy of some sort to that. And then when she landed, Twitter had essentially ended her career. That was Knight of Swords energy. She didn't expect any comeback from her loose tweeting, but it did come back and bite her. And that is the Knight of Swords risk. You do something, you say something, you put something out there, and you don't expect anything to come of it, and then something does. Obviously, you can also expect nothing to come of something, but and then it might not. That's how it is. Maybe a cautionary tale this week from the Discordian Tarot deck. Reflect upon that situation right there. Okay, interesting. An interesting card for interesting times. The old Chinese curse has never been more true. May we all live in interesting times. It's that time. Sacraments in hand. Disco kids. My son partook of the sacrament earlier, but that's just because he likes sweets. Because he didn't do it in the unofficial Discordian SWTP manner, holding it aloft and intoning. I could not find a hot dog, not even with a bun. So I ate this candy noodle, because devotion comes with fun. Hey, Eris. That's all of that. Spiritual clarity. Flavoured of strawberry flavoured sugary stuff. And that concludes the SWTP Discordian service for the 14th of February 2025 ADN. Thank you for joining me, particularly TF2 Real Gamer. There has a whole thing about the hostess with the mostess and all that stuff. I can't think of something that is like mostess but rhymes with parishioner. The parishioner with the elegance of Baryshnikov. The parishioner on a missioner. To derail the service. Which was done fairly successfully, although it really has become a bit of a ping-pong tennis situation. I am thinking that I will probably get more spam chatters now that I'm not an affiliate, because I think they target non-affiliates on the assumption that they're up and coming. Just in case you wondered, if you have been an affiliate and then you go, I don't want to be an affiliate no more, and they stop you being an affiliate, you instantly, the minute they've taken you off the affiliate program, get a mail from the affiliate program, because all the numbers on your account still say that you qualify to be an affiliate, and they can't conceive of someone who doesn't want to be an affiliate, so they send you another mail that says, hey, come and be an affiliate. I'm like, no thanks, I just quit. The Twitch universe is very strange when viewed from the position of an outsider. So there we go. That is all the Discordian wit and wisdom we have time for this Friday. Whether you are synchronous or asynchronous, may the blessings of Eris go with you, and may the interesting times merely serve to fuel your own chaos magic practitioner, and may it make you glorious in the name of Discordia. All hail Eris. And that seems about as good a place as any to sign out. Catch you next time.